It is now my honor to introduce President Dan Lugo, the 21st President of Queens, and JB, Chair of the Board of Trustees and recipient of this year's Outstanding Alumnus Award. We look forward to learning more about each of you, your vision for this institution, and how we can play a part in the future success of Queens. Thank you both for joining us today.
This will be fun.
This is always fun with you.
Absolutely. Well, what an amazing alumni luncheon. Congratulations for everyone coming back home. Love how you've organized an incredible weather day, and to our outstanding award recipients, Adair, Tom, Stephanie, Dr. Allegretti. What incredible impacts you have made on our incredible institution here. So thank you for your leadership. And to the new members of the Arete Society, welcome, and we look forward to welcoming you back every single year. You are always now officially welcome. It is always your reunion cycle. You know, it's an exciting time at Queens, and it's an exciting time in your life, JB. So this is going to be a fun conversation. For folks that just heard a bit of JB's story, there's been an eventful year, right?
So an eventful year, yes.
Going from Ally Financial, a company that you have such an incredible story of turnaround growth and establishing the world's best online bank, right? And then going to the incredible Hendricks Automotive Group and hitting the ground running with incredible results. So congratulations on all of those things that you've achieved. And in your remarks, we're so proud to have you as an alumnus. We are so proud to have you as a chair who had the experience of attending Queens, which is unique here at Queens. And you, in your remarks, you mentioned the impact of attending the McCall School. I just wonder if you could share a little bit more about that. Take me back to, you being an on-the-rise professional and leader at Bank of America. What made you take on getting your MBA? Why did you choose the McCall School? And how has that education served you throughout this incredible career that you're having?
Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon again. Appreciate everyone being here today. And Dan, as I said in the remarks earlier, it really was a transformational experience for me to come here. And I remember my path. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, went to Clemson University, went back to Columbus for a few years, and then missed the South and started with Nations Bank in 1998 as kind of a first-year analyst there. And was very fortunate in getting to meet Mr. McCall and some of our other leadership team members very early on. And fast forward a few years later, my boss at the time said, would you like to pursue an MBA? If I think it'd be good for you to have for your corporate journey. And so I went on this exploration of a number of schools, and a number of schools from North Carolina had large programs here in the Charlotte area, Wake and Duke and others. And I remember when I came and I sat through the weekend class with the Executive MBA program here, I thought this was a really interesting setup, and it was a very hands-on experience. I got to meet Dr. Wireman early on, and what I shared with you is, again, I had a pretty deep education in hardcore finance and economics. I was working at B of A where that was reinforced every single day. But what I recognized, what was important for me, is I wanted the next chapter of education for me to really be around human engagement and human management. And so back to realizing the McCall School had this motto of discover the leader within. And I had sort of early entry-level leadership assignments, but I really aspired to larger positions in my life and pursued the education. Bank of America was incredibly gracious. they awarded me the Hugh McCall Scholarship, so it was, ended up being a free ride. But I would have chosen Queens even if I had to pay for it, similar to you teaching here, even if you didn't get paid for it. But it, for me, was the way we learned in class, and the experiences not only being driven by great professors, but learning from each other and learning around those soft skills. The human management was so important to me, and I built a relationship. Some of the experiences that I still remember, going on a trip with Dr. Weierman to Moscow, to St. Petersburg, to Berlin. Those are certainly two of those three spots you would not travel to today. But I remember just, again, what a remarkable experience that was. And so when I reflect on, I have been afforded a lot of incredible leadership opportunities, and I think when it came time, here I was, 31 years old. It was the start of 2008, and I had gone from a fresh-faced analyst to now being named the corporate treasurer of Bank of America. I'm convinced B of A would not have made that move for somebody as young if I didn't demonstrate strong leadership aptitude in addition to understanding the markets and things. And so I attribute that my progression really aligned with Queens, making me comfortable as a leader, making me confident as a leader, and making me understand how to relate to people. And that was something that still to this day at Ally and now at Hendrick, the importance of leadership, and especially Rick Hendrick is one of the most incredible human beings I've ever met in my life. And his focus is all around servant leadership. And I think, as I shared, it aligns so well with the values of this institution, the mottos of this institution. So, for the past 21 years, Queens has been in my heart, guiding my professional world, but it's been a great honor. Pamela Davies came calling, asking me to step on the board. This will be my 9th year of board service, the past 4 being our board chair. And it's going to be a sad moment for me. Yes, it requires considerable time, but I love every minute I get to celebrate with Dan and work with Dan and helping shape and form the next chapter of this institution. And I would encourage you, if you haven't gotten deeply familiar with all that's going on with Queens today, reach out to Dan, to Lorianne Summers that are here, to members of the team to understand, because the progression is quite remarkable. Quite remarkable.
JB, thank you for the really valuable plug at the end there. But I want to unpack a little bit of your service. And there's so many ways that you've made an impact on Queens. You talk about time, treasure, expertise, and in every lane, right? If folks have a chance to talk to folks at Ally or visit Ally, the whole entire company has just got Queens people all over the place, right? So
yes.
Where JB goes, he's bringing Queens people with him.
Absolutely.
You've been incredibly generous with your philanthropy. I'm so excited that this next cycle will be able to induct you into our Ministrare Society. So thank you for all of that belief. But tell me a little bit about the board, right? What was it about Queens that made you say, hey, I'd like to step up and give hundreds of more hours to my alma mater, and over the past 4 years, what were you seeing that made it exciting, fun, and worth the investment of your precious time to be the board chair?
Yeah, I was afforded the opportunity to get on to the McCall School Board first as a board member there, and then ultimately had an opportunity to chair the Business School Board, the McCall School Board, and then Pamela came calling and asked me to join the Board of Trustees. And I remember every single meeting I would leave of our board feeling enriched, feeling richer in my heart, in my mind, feeling excited about what Queens represented, the value of the Queens education. And so for me, back to that servant leadership focus and the importance of being able to give back, it was a no-brainer for me to join the board. I remember, though, it was Michael Tarwater and Pamela Davies asked me to a breakfast. And I thought, well, this is going to cost me some money. And no, Pamela had breakfast and
Going to cost you more than money.
yes, exactly. And Pamela said, and Michael, who was chairing the board at the time, said, you know, you've been on all these various committees with our board. We'd like you to consider chairing our board. And yes, I recognized it would be a time investment, but for me it was an incredible honor. And it was also at a time where Queens was about to chart a next chapter in our journey, where Pamela had announced she was leaving. We knew there would be a new leader brought in. And, you know, for me, that was also very exciting to help be a part of setting the next chapter. Dan, you've said it many times, and one of the things that I admire about you as a great leader is, you know, you're about building on the foundations, and I think the words you've used is, you know, building on the shoulders of giants. And certainly when you look at Dr. Wireman and Dr. Davies, they were two incredible giants. I mean, Pamela Davies served as president for 17 years, remarkable in what all she accomplished. But Dan, what I've appreciated about you is your desire to take those foundations and build for the next chapter and position Queens. There's a lot of changes in the world of higher education today, and what you're doing is charting a new course for the Queens of the future, the Queens of tomorrow. And so for me, it has been a significant time commitment, but I think back to how enriched I feel in every meeting I leave Queens, and I hope you know, the work we've done together sets an important foundation for, you know, the incredible young women and men that will walk across as graduates and be outstanding alumni years from now. It's truly been an honor for me to serve. You're not getting rid of me quite yet. I think June 30th we wrap up, but you will see me moving from your board chair to being an engaged alumnus.
Well, we're definitely counting on that, and there is something special about the continuum of leadership here, and that was attractive to me, right? That higher ed is a tough marketplace, a tough business, and there's so much, you know, upheaval in higher education. So my wife, Tina Marie, is here at the table here. When we were thinking of the opportunity to come to Queens, that was a selling point, right? How long do the presidents stay there? You know, are they changing every 2 to 3 years? Is there a revolt?
But that was a big move for you and Tina Marie and Michael and the family. I mean, to have this Maine to North Carolina. I mean, talk about the leadership faith you had to have in coming to Queens. And I love putting the question back to you. What attracted you to...
Hey, I'm supposed to be on the mic here. You know, I'm happy to answer that because it still holds true, right? I think that all of our outstanding award winners have highlighted there's something special about Queens people. And when you interact with members of the Queens community, you get it. Hard to appreciate from afar. And hence, that's part of our work right now is to get more people to appreciate it, to recognize it, to see it. But when we encountered it, we knew that it was pretty unique and special. There is something just magical about what's going on in Charlotte right now, the growth and kind of ascendancy of becoming a truly international city that was attractive to, you know, my family and had great potential for all of us. It wasn't just a career thing, it was a life thing. And then, you know, because I'm going to flip it back, get back to the thing at hand is to interview you. It was really the opportunity to tell the story of Queens in broader audiences all over the country, find the vehicles to bring even more resources, more attention, and just a much more secure path towards growth here. And when I talk to friends in higher education across, you know, the country, I asked when I was looking, tell me, you know, who do you think is the kind of preeminent private university of Charlotte? And if you weren't from Charlotte, you didn't have an answer. folks just couldn't come up with an answer. They would say, 5% of the audience would say Davidson. I'm like, it's just undergraduate, and by the way, it's not in Charlotte. And then another 5% would say UNC Charlotte. I'm like, I got to really educate you on private versus public. Yeah. So, there really aren't too many institutions that have that opportunity to be known as that preeminent place, to be, Emory in Atlanta, to be Hopkins in Baltimore, to be Case Western in Cleveland, to be Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh. That's who Queens should be. All right, I'm off of my soapbox, and we're.
Well, I think back to even the words we talked about Queens as a hidden gem, and your responsibility, it's always a gem. Mm-hmm. It no longer needs to be hidden, and that's part of what you've been able to do, and bringing in incredible leadership team and partners to really elevate the national stature of Queens.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's thank you. It's all of us together doing it. It's all of us together doing it, and how fortunate are we to have a board chair that's operating at a national level, right? So thank you for taking our brand with you in every circle and every meeting and every audience that you're in front of. Thank you so much for doing that.
And I love to share every one of those Queens students and those Queens graduates that are at Ally, just remarkable individuals. They stand up with every other university that Ally would hire from. They are incredibly well represented, bring the respect, the character, the integrity that you want in employees today, and it was awesome to be a big employer of Queens graduates.
I hear that repeatedly, and thank you for highlighting that. Everyone that got a Queens education is an incredible contributor to whatever organization that they're in, and hence I'd like us to get more graduates, right? I mean, we need companies and communities and organizations to have more Queens alumni doing the really, really great work that we need done.
Absolutely.
So, staying with the board, right? I'm sure every experience wasn't, peaches and cream. And, tell me some of the surprises, now that you're kind of looking back on 4 years and of being the board chair and 9 years of being on the board, any surprises, anything that stands out to you as, challenges or things that we've learned together?
The world of higher ed is a challenge every day, but with that comes great opportunities. I do laugh to myself thinking about Michael Tarwater and Pamela, and it doesn't really take that much time. They were incredible salespeople, but it's been worth every minute invested. I think the world of higher education is dramatically changing, and you have to be mindful of the environment around you. And there are still today a number of liberal arts institutions that close their doors. I mean, Dan, I shared
Birmingham,
an article with Dan 2 weeks ago about another one, and there are challenges even coming out of the government today that are impacting, enrollment trajectory for smaller schools like ourselves. And Dan, maybe you'll want to touch on that. But here we were coming off of the largest year of enrollment last year. We welcomed, I think it was 414 students into the Queens family last year. Tremendous momentum, and now a change in government financial aid programs has dramatically impacted the outlook for students coming back to campus this fall. And so, to me, that's a near-term challenge we're working through. Certainly, the COVID experience was a big one, and recognizing how Dan was a newer leader to our university, Tina was a newer first lady to our university, and having to manage through those challenges. We met quite frequently. We, evaluated
not that big of a lift,
lot.
JB.
Yes, yeah. But again, I'm somebody that looks at any one of those challenges as an opportunity to reposition, to pivot, to set you up for future success, and I think that's what Queens has done so well. We stayed steadfast, and I remember saying that Michael Tarwater, who was our past board chair, and Michael, Dan, and I were meeting a lot, and we just said kind of continue flying the airplane. Michael was a pilot, and you had to stay focused of where you wanted to get to. So there could be lots of distractions around you, but what were we really trying to do? And so we survived that environment. We've got Queens incredibly well positioned today, but there's been a lot of huge pivots and shifts. The move to Division I athletics, I think that was a big debate. Ultimately, the board decided unanimously that was the right step forward. There were a number of our trustees that stepped up with personal philanthropy to do it. And it was a much bigger move than just athletics. A lot of people looked at it, you're just going to a different athletic level or standard. It was back to, no, the mission was what Dan talked about. We no longer wanted to be a hidden gem. We needed to play on a national level. We needed to recruit on a national level. We needed to get our brand out there, and we saw the early results. Obviously, again, 414 students coming last year. This year is going to be, quite impacted. But that was a big move. That was very, very exciting for all of us. It created a little bit of student drama, and I don't mean that in a bad sense. I just, there were, when you have your men's and women's swimming teams being 7 times national champions, and then you move them from a different conference, that's tough. And that was something that the board had to evaluate and debate on. The exciting things, though, that are underway, and again, encourage any one of you to get time with me, with Dan, the team, a new strategic plan and framework being put in place. Let positions really Queens for the next 15 to 20 years is remarkable. Let Dan and his team have put forth. The partnerships that now exist. Queens didn't really have these partnerships. One, a big one with Atrium Health. And you think about all the growth that Atrium and Advocate Health has going on in this area. Queens being front and center to that is critically important. Dan and his team created the Charlotte Talent Initiative of affording a Queens education to individuals that may not be able to afford it. And Lowe's and Ally stepped up, and the cohorts that are there are amazing individuals. So there's been a lot of, with all these challenges, with all this noise, what I've been really impressed in, we haven't continued flying the airplane. We haven't continued focusing on the strategic trajectory of Queens for the future. And then, the other thing, one of the challenges of an institution as dated as ours, and I mean that with all respect, is just an aging physical infrastructure. And this year, Dan and his team are executing, it's upwards of $25 million of capital improvements going on across campus. I mean, some of you probably recall the old STEAM facilities, trying to now modernize that, modernize the dorms, modernize all that, change the roofs. There's a lot of physical infrastructure. So again, those challenges became opportunities. How do we position Queens for the future? And I think, again, that's a sign of great leadership there.
Well, thank you so much, and it's a sign of a great partnership with great board leadership, because every one of those things that you mentioned took important decisions from the board to empower the leadership team to go execute. So under your leadership, we were able to take certain strategic risks, and that takes a certain level of confidence, acumen, and expertise that we're so fortunate to have you provide that with us. And Queens is an interesting place as how we've evolved. And one of the things that I hear from some of our advancement staff and folks that work with our alumni, it's like, oh gosh, there's, it seems like the place has changed so much. And I'm like, change is a part of Queens' DNA.
Exactly.
I mean, it is actually our superpower in many ways, right? I went to an institution for undergrad that was founded in after Queens in the 1860s. It's had the same name. It's in the same place. It was co-educational from the start. I mean, almost nothing has changed. It's grown a little bit. But if you think about Queens, right, this is a place, right, that has changed locations. Remember, we were founded on College Street up in the center of the city before we moved down here at the turn of the 20th century. We've changed names 3 times. We've merged with another college. There was a college called Chicora College down in South Carolina, merged here, right? We've gone from single sex to co-ed back in 1950, actually, folks. That was the first time. Reversed out of that and then went co-ed again in 1987, right? So this is it's such an agile place that I think as higher ed continues to face serious challenges, that power that we have to see the market and be like what was highlighted about Billy Wireman, to see what's coming next and to make those moves is going to be a really, really, strong attribute for our thriving and survival in the next century. All right, we're getting a signal. I could talk with you all day because I always learn from you because you're such an incredible leader. Tell me, as we have this audience here that's here to celebrate, right, their shared experience with Queens, as they look back on their experience, is there something that you could share with our alumni about how they can help us truly be that incredible institution in the future, and how they can support that growth, that movement, to make Queens the best place that it can be?
Absolutely. I think, continue to be an ambassador in every interaction and every opportunity you have. And as I said in my remarks, giving back, being engaged can come in a lot of shapes and forms in time. So being able to devote your time and your talents, I look across this room and incredible talents are filled here. And how do we bring those back to Queens? How do we help engage? How do we help share your incredible talents with the young women and men that will be Queens students and ultimately alumni tomorrow? And then in treasures, the world of higher education, again, is changing. And how the university raises money and there are great needs is very important. And Sarah and I have been honored to be able to provide philanthropic support, and we need more of it. And Lori Ann Summers is here, our new head of advancement, not new anymore, so newer head of advancement is here, and we are exploring a capital campaign that could start, maybe it's 12 months, 18 months, 24 months down the road, but that will be critically important. And so I'd say, being an ambassador, being engaged, taking your personal passions and aligning those with what's going on in Queens today, very, very important. And I think that's an opportunity for everyone to stay connected and help deliver the Queens of tomorrow.
That's fantastic. Well, JB, it has been a pleasure to have this conversation with you. It's been a pleasure to serve with you under your leadership. There were a number of awards that you could have won, but we are honored that you are this year's Outstanding Alumnus. And we're counting on you staying heavily involved and ensuring that the future of this institution is well served.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you all very much.